So hopefully you manage to fill your stomachs and that we can continue with the development. First of all, I need to apologize Rebecca Cremona. She was stopped at the Hungarian border, even though she is Maltese, with the diplomatic ID card and the Maltese ID card, but the Hungarians didn't let her to Croatia. So unfortunately, she was sent back. Speaking about free movement of people, cross borders, European Union, so unfortunately, those things happen, and I just hope that it's just one case as such. I was really shocked, and yesterday it was really stressful for me to bring her here, so unfortunately she's not with us. But just to reflect on her and her work, she is one of the rare Maltese female directors, and her movie Simshar was also nominated as the first Maltese film for Oscar, so I just wanted to give her 2 minutes of her attention, even though she's not with us. However, I do have all of you in place. You didn't run away. So, okay, I will start on my left side, Roshanak Behesht Nedjad, so-called Roshi. There is something also about Roshi. It's always the most difficult part to introduce those who you know the best, almost. Yeah, what to say. But I will focus that you've been really for quite some time in the film business. First with the production company Flying Moon, then LudInc, and trying to experiment with video games. And now, in addition, it's also in good company. But on the top of it, you're also a friend of Croatia. We collaborated for already three times. And you do an amazing job when it comes to the stories and creations, and only in 2 days. So this is Roshi. Then I moved to Ankica, Jurić, Tilić. So Ankica was the first EAVE participant. She had the first media project, Coco and the Ghosts, first slate with 4 films, and now another slate in the new Media Creative Europe. And at the same time, besides her important role teaching at the Academy of Dramatic Art, she really is focused on finding new emerging talents, especially female directors. And we really appreciate also her contribution as an expert and being quite active in all the discussions about small, big countries. And of course, the greatest success is the Honan, the first media and creation after a long time nominated project for Cannes, winning the Jury Award 2015.
After your speech, I feel like I should retire.
No. Because, of course, I have this focus on creation results. So whenever everybody says, you know, and then I'm like, okay, so it's Ankica. Then it's my great pleasure to have Honan, whom I met last year during animation workshop on Central and Eastern European countries in Ljubljana. And Mo is really, with her story, Oops, No is Gone. I still call it like that because I know that you change the names according to who is buying it. But you really did an amazing job from a country called Ireland, medium capacity country. And
recently medium.
Recently? Medium, yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah, they moved you from small to...
We grew up a little bit, so they decided we were medium.
Maybe it's because of you.
There is hope for Croatia.
There's always hope.
There is hope for Croatia.
We were small.
Okay. And I also appreciate that you managed to come because it's important to speak about animation as well. Because when it comes also to media training initiatives, there is really lack of animation training workshops compared to those for the creative documentaries and fiction. And I'm sure you will tell us your success story.
I'm very delighted to be here, actually, and thank you, Martina, for inviting and for organising all this. It's great.
It really was almost a heart attack last night when you said then there are some beings.
It was a long journey, yeah. I'm very glad to be here in reality as well, because I almost ended up in Split because of the bad weather in Dubrovnik. So, but Martina said the Croatian pilots will get you there, Mo. Don't worry.
Yeah, and they did. This was a second attempt of the heart attack at 10 o'clock in the evening, and I survived. So, and dear Katarina Zrinka Matijević, she also. Has her success stories with focus on female stories and intimate female women stories. You were also quite successful as a student. There were also some awards, and somehow you are quite active also in the Croatian Directors Association, and somebody who is very right and to the point and know what to say. One of your projects was also supported by media. It's Trampoline, and it's going well around the festivals, and we will also later see the trailer and speak about it. So, welcome. So, with whom we shall start? Let's start with Roshi. I wrote some notes. So, in terms of media and the development and slate, how did it go for you, actually?
For us, it went quite well, I have to say, for the films. What didn't go quite well is the game, this experiment, as you say, this sort of mix between serious games and so on, because there is no, I mean, I know that media is trying, or the European Union is trying to do something with digital, but the world is changing very fastly and very quickly, and so the rules that they apply to for the applications don't really match the reality of what these games or projects, or however you call them, need. So it's like using cannons from the 19th century and dealing with nuclear weapons in the 21st century. It's a bit of a limping system right now. But in terms of films, for us it was very important because we did, and I do still do, a lot of international films. And as Lena said beforehand, there is no way to finance development for an international project, at least in Germany, and Germany is the biggest economy in Europe. I find that rather embarrassing. It's practically impossible to get financing from fundings or anything for a project where your writer comes from, I don't know, Ireland, or your director then comes from Hungary or Croatia, is you have the regional effects you have to serve. And so this cultural diversity which you want to display, truly, by also getting the talents together without media. And I'm not talking only about Slate, I'm also talking about single projects, because I mean, I'm an experienced producer, but what about these young emerging producers? You need fresh blood. This world is changing, and we cannot just rely on the old farts, if you excuse my French. So they will not be able to apply for Slate. Single project is important, else you will not have the films that you can then share and distribute among Europe and be proud of it, because there is nothing to be proud of it, because they don't exist anymore. This is one thing, because I know that currently the single project development fund is being discussed. And one other thing which I wanted to say, because that's the reason why I asked you what's the annual budget of media. If I remember correct, it's like the overall budget of the European Union is 155 billion euros last year. Media was 112 million. The budget of Zootopia was $160 million US dollars, plus they put the same amount of marketing in it. It's really difficult to compete with an overall European budget of 112 million with a single film that has more. Just saying. In order to get all these relations and have data is really important, but qualified data is more important than anything else as well, because you need to interpret this data and understand what it means. So yes, we need media, because Europe is culturally diverse. We have so many languages. We want to present it to the world. We need money to create it, and we need money to present it, and we need money to market it. So that's, I just wanted to say in between.
I will tackle this promotion and selling points of the film and distribution in the next panel. But what I also found rather concerning is that for one sales agent to sell any film, it needs to be sold at 10 territories. So when it comes to Croatia, there are only 3 films who managed to receive this support via foreign sales agent, and this is the Honan, the Priest Children, and the Constitution. So this is also something that it needs to be discussed, because for small films, there is no way. I'm very happy that Croatian distributors receive the money for European non-national films, but on the other hand, we also need to think about the reciprocity and the actual visibility of European film. So just wanted to add this. Then we continue with success story, but would you like to first play a trailer, the Honan, Ankica?
Why not?
How many times? I showed it in the European Parliament at various workshops and conferences.
Now it's a beautiful memory.
So the Honan.
Da se sponđa s njovom okrećala bi se u grobu.
Viš ti šta se sprema?
Pa zato i bježimo odavde, da možemo biti na miru.
Ništa se ne mora.
Mora se samo umriti.
Mogu i rada idem.
Mogu ući.
Izdajice. Čuvaj se imenima. Ne moraš sebe toliko kriviti. To je zbog takvi kao što si ti. Jesi li me ikad pitala? Kada si? Mrezi! Praća mi gdje se sramlja!
Ti stat, pa?
Idi, tako si.
Puš, jebe se dol sa njim, njihovim!
Sve je poludilo, bogati.
So, the Honan received the support within the Slate funding, as far as I remember, as a part of the 4 film projects.
Yes, it was.
So maybe can we go back how everything started and how everything developed when it comes to the Honan?
I just wanted to say one more thing, about the single support for development, because I think It's really crucial, and that you and your colleagues should do your best to stop this initiative that it is cancelled, because what we need to think about is the future, and not the present only. So to be able to access Slate, you really need to have a company who can develop at least 7 projects, 4 of them in the stage to be presented to Slate. So young people stand no chance to access media's Slate. So I think that the single is very important for the people who are at the beginning of their careers, who have a good sense of how to find a great project, how to help develop it. And then with so limited resources of financing the development in the countries, even rich countries, high production capacity countries like Germany, it's a problem. Then it's a problem everywhere. So I think that this single is very important for young people, young companies, new talents, and same as the trainings. So I think because we have, I don't know how many, but it's, I wouldn't be mistaken if I say almost 100 production markets all over Europe. I think that the training programs and the single are to be cherished with a lot of care and awareness how important it is for the future and for people who are beginning their careers. Because, yeah, now it's quite easy for me. At every single moment, I can grab into my pool and pick up 3 or 4 best projects and go to Slate. But when I was, 10 years before, 2008, it was a huge problem. And when we did the first single, for me it was a problem to have a film that was distributed in many countries. I mean, more than 3, then the annual turnover was a problem. There are so many limits. And then it's precious when you can reach it, when you can start like that. It's good not for the particular project, but for you, for your company, and for your society, for everyone from your film industry. So I think that each one of us making a success makes a favor to a colleague of ours. So this is the way it goes, because none of us can make anything alone. So I think it's very important, and I thank you for going through this war for us and for young people and for young producers and young directors who are at the beginning of the career.
Yeah, because I'm also giving all those tricks, because media really has this criteria that your company needs to be developed for 12 months. You need to have your credit as producer. Most of the time you always place yourself as co-producer. Then I'm saying now to Croatian producers immediately, I mean, make an arrangement, you know, both of you will benefit. You will use, when I'm suggesting to combine 2 companies together, because there is no other way. Mm-hmm. And so far this has been successful in a couple of examples, and then in this way the company which did not have a credit or didn't have 12 months before now can go on and apply for media projects. And I remember when it comes to you that The Ripper was not successful as a single, but then in Slate
it worked out in a Slate, yes. And getting the Slate was somewhat a big change for my company in general, because we could have afforded getting that money to employ a temp that was brilliant and that we educated for 2 years, and then suddenly there is I was sure that I will be able to get her in a steady team for 2 years at least, which is a huge thing, you know, because you keep educating people and then you have to let them go because you don't have enough work for them. You cannot sustain, it's not sustainable. So, yes, anyhow, but what I wanted to say, just to wake up everyone after lunch, that every success is actually a result of a lot of small unsuccessful things that we do. So we keep trying, we keep banging with our head through the walls, and And it's not, things do not happen just like that. Only lottery probably happens like that. It's all hours and hours and hours of work, and what I strongly believe in is a strong collaboration with your colleagues, with your mates, with your talents, with the system, with the people who work in the system, because I think we should change the rules, not trick the rules. But to change the rules, I cannot sit at home and wait till media figures out that cutting slate is a good idea, is not a good idea. We need to talk about that. We need to shout. We need to get united, and we need to try to write letters and explain.
We need a dialogue.
We need a dialogue all the time, and it's
usually
never.
They are cutting us out. Yeah.
And it's never. It's always a crisis. I don't know. I don't remember times that were not that. It crisis. It's like 24/7. All our lives is a crisis. So we should try not to think in a way. This is the crisis, and it will go away. It will not go away if we don't do anything about that.
Yes, we need to look at the future. Yeah. And what I would also like to add, when it comes to Croatia, thanks to media, the Croatian Film Center also introduced development funds and the script development, allowing also script writers to apply as physical persons and to receive money to develop their scripts. So thank you. Then I go on with Mo. Let's hear the Irish success story. Or shall we first show the trailer? Shall we show the trailer?
I think we should show the trailer because everybody's sleepy after lunch, so it might just...
The animals of the world have been called to a gathering. Everything will be fine.
I have some terrible news. A
flood!
Dad, everybody's staring.
But a very nice human called Noah is building a huge ark, a ship to keep us animals safe until the flood has passed.
Would all the animals please board 2 by 2?
Have a nice trip. Where are you going? None of your business. Cool. Count me in. I don't think we're allowed up here. The flood! Wait! They're leaving without us! Oh no! What are we gonna do?
Our kids are out there and we're locked up in here!
I believe I have found your children.
Those aren't our kids.
Those are hippos!
This year...
Let's go! Forget it.
An unlikely duo...
Leah!
will have to work together.
Somebody needs a hug. Don't even think about it.
Or stay adrift forever.
Ta-da! That's pretty good. Oops.
And they'll discover...
That's where they've got to be. Let's find our children.
It takes two... to make an adventure.
I'm coming! You missed, buddy. I know.
2 by 2.
Get me out! The bad breath is killing me!
Oh, boy.
Coming soon.
Ooh. Awake.
So that was 2 by 2, otherwise known as Oops, Noah is Gone, and was about the creatures who didn't make it onto Noah's Ark. So in the context of media, I mean, this project would never have been made, frankly, without it. When I was first involved in the development of it many years ago, it was awarded single project development for an animated project. So from that, we were able to work with the writers in Ireland and develop the story over quite some time, actually. And then we collaborated on the visual side in co-development with Ulysses in Hamburg in Germany. And eventually through that process, and also with support from the Irish Film Board, and the Hamburg Film Fund, we managed to bring it to a point where we could take it to market. And for animation, always a little longer and a bit more of a struggle to do that, because you have to develop the visual style and the technique a lot more, and you have to have at least what we call a teaser or trailer for the market, that you can really show effectively what is almost a final look, a final project, so that you can attract your other partners that you will need inevitably to co-finance, and attract your sales agents and your distributors, and try to advance into the production phase. So without this single project development, it just wouldn't have happened. It was essential to it. So 4 years ago, that was many years ago, but 4 years ago I started my own company, Moetion Films, and just last round applied for Slate funding and succeeded in getting it. So we now have some other projects that we're developing, and I can see what you're saying with that respect. I could not have been in a position to try to apply for Slate funding without having gone through that process of having had another project and a single development under my belt. You know, it's a learning curve, it's a rite of passage in a way. And also, it's not like one it can substitute the other. I think there's also room in the cycle of a company or in the cycle of one's career that one might also wish in time again to look at a single project. You can't always be developing 4 and 5 projects. Sometimes that just doesn't make sense. So,
especially when it comes to animation.
And yes, because it's such a long process.
Yes, yeah. And how are the supports from the Irish Film Board? You also received the support for the animation as this one? Yes.
So in Ireland we have the Irish Film Board, who supports mainly film. That's their remit, in fact, is to concentrate on supporting both the development and production, and supports co-production as well of film. They do, however, also contribute some of their budget to television drama and to television animated projects. And one of the reasons I can say for that is that, and it's something we are working very hard on in Animation Ireland, which is a trade association I'm a board member of. We are in continual dialogue with our broadcasters to try to improve and enhance their support to the animation sector as well, because that side of the financial support for animation in particular is quite weak and quite a small contribution in comparison to what's invested in other audiovisual genre. So we're trying to create a balance there and to create a bigger commitment from them. Apart from that, some people who will already know in the industry out there that we have a tax credit which we can raise as well for any genre. It doesn't matter whether it's TV or film or animation or live action or documentary, it doesn't matter, which is at 32%. So we have always co-produced, you know, and I think that is something that comes out of having started in this whole process as a small country. We are a small country. We have grown our capacity in terms of what we're doing, but our funding is still not, I think, medium even, you know, but we are in a medium capacity now in terms of what we're doing. But I think one of the real factors in that growth has been that we have always reached outwards to collaborate and to co-produce. And that's how we've created the industry such as it is right now. I mean, we see lots of challenges and lots of things we want to grow still, but we could not have done it without, I think, an outward approach and also an international focus in what we're doing.
Yeah, I would say the co-productions today are must. I mean, it's difficult to develop and produce film only with one source of financing, and media is in a way initiating these co-productions, so you really need to have LOEs. Yeah. Would you like to?
That's a problem with Germany, exactly, because Germany is such a big country, so that you can actually produce the films without any collaboration. And once you want to step out and go beyond the borders, you're like stuck with the old system. And it's really, really difficult to then finance it. I mean, production is okay, sort of, but development is practically a no-go outside. I mean, co-developing with other countries is really, really difficult.
Thank you. Would you like to add something, or I can go on to Zrinka?
Please go ahead, and we can jump back in. I guess.
Okay. So I would like now to address. I don't know how to call you, Katarina Zrinka.
Zrinka.
Zrinka. I will. Maybe first we saw your trailer, because then we will understand what we're gonna speak about. So, some exercise, Rosh.
Kada sam bila mala, sasvim mala. Kada sam bila tako mala da sam mogla stati u kap vode ili se omotati u vlat trave. Sjećam se vremena kada sam bila tako mala da sam imala vremena biti sama sa sobom. Sjećam se ugode, topline i sigurnosti. Sjećam se trave, rose, klokotave vode, nježnih paukovih mreža, raspršenog sunca po smaragdnoj vodi. A sva ta sjećanja sežu u liku, zemlji mojih predaka i mog djetinjstva. Moja prabaka rodila je 7 kćeri. Moja baka 5 kćeri, moja mama 2, a ja sam rodila samo 1 kćer. Pritom, moja prabaka nije izgubila ni jedno dijete. Moja baka i mama su izgubile po 1, a ja čak njih 4. Često se pitam, gdje su moja nerođena djeca? Htjela bih znati gdje su i što rade zauvijek izgubljena sva moja nerođena djeca. Ponekad ih vidim onkraj oka. Ponekad ih milujem mimo ruke. Prisebna i vrlo jako svjesna da njih nema. Ponekad ih čak i čujem sasvim šutke. Sjećam se vremena kada nije bilo takvih briga. Sjećam se vremena kada je najveća bol bila pad s bicikla ili opeklina na jeziku od žurnog ispijanja vrućega mlijeka. Ali to su samo sjećanja. Realnost je da moja obitelj iščezava. Baš kao što iščezava i onakva lika kakve se sjećam.
So, Zrinka, this is your intimate personal story. Was it difficult?
It was. We were doing for 6-7 years. One of the producers is here, it's Tamara. We also did it with Lena on the Zagreb Docs Pro.
So there are two of persons who really were involved in the process, and it was really hard.
Yeah, I put on purpose this film because Trampoline was the one which received the media support. But since you are the here on the panel representative of documentary films, this was your focus, but then you switched to Trampoline. It was your first fiction, am I right? Or
first long fiction.
Long fiction, yeah. So how did this idea, again, it's a female story, woman story. How did you come up with this idea and to develop it?
In fact, we developed the Trampoline through the program of media, the sources too.
Mm-hmm.
The idea came because I read the article in the newspaper that there is every third child in the Croatia, and the statistic is not better for the Europe, is abused.
Mm-hmm.
But what is different in this film that the abusers are not men but women towards daughters, and somehow I have feeling that on the festivals the Q&A sessions are as long as film because there is a lot of questions about why I choose that the women are the one who abusers. But by the statistic, in fact, the abusing nature is a human nature. It's not only we can't say that it's only in the man nature, and we really want to raise the conversations about that, and we really want to break some prejudice. So in the Trampoline, we didn't saw the trailer of the Trampoline. It's the abusers are not they're not poor, but intellectuals. So we are dealing with the women that normally we would not expect that will beat their children.
And you're making now another film, also with a female topic.
I'm writing it.
You're writing it. Just a hint.
It will be a mix between the documentary and the fiction. It's the biography about three women from Croatia,
mm-hmm.
the warrior, the painter, and the writer. And somehow it happens that in Croatia people don't know very much about them, except of the writer. And they all have a very interesting story, and they all have very interesting... they were treated in their life in not very good manner because of the fact that they are women. So that's in short this.
How did your participation and sources actually help you develop? I'm just going back a bit when it comes to your film, Trampoline.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a bit confused when it comes to the tutor with whom you worked with? How did it help you, or this help you?
It helped me a lot. It helped because there are two of us writing the script, and then after the sources too, we realized that we can't do it together anymore. So it helps a lot, mm-hmm. because then the third person came on the ship.
And this person was from where?
Sorry?
This person was from where?
From here also.
From here.
Yeah, from here also. But with the tutor we had excellent communication, and it really proves the script on the much better level.
Okay. So I'm going back to the tutoring. So Rosh is really amazing as a tutor because you are German, but somehow you understand our stories and you know what Croatians want to say. It's just all those 3 times we collaborated, It's really amazing for someone who comes, let's call it a big country, but to really get the feeling of the story. So, how?
I'm diaspora, basically. I think that might help because I'm a born Iranian. I'm a German, British, American, educated. I don't care about what nationality people have. They tell stories. And stories are about human beings. And as long as it... And plus, does anyone know the guy Friedman? Anyway, he said the world is flat. He wrote a book. And he said between 1400 and 1800, the countries went global. Between 1800 and the year 2000, the enterprises went global. And from the year 2000 onward, the individuals went global. And I think this is part of my recipe. I was global since the 60s. So for me, it doesn't matter from where the stories come. You look at the country, you look at the politics, you look at the history, you look at the story, you look at the person, and then you get a point of view. And then you go with it. And a story is a story is a story.
How often do you collaborate with your students from or participants from the EAVE, for example?
As a producer?
Yes, yes.
Well, I have this there's this strict EAVE rule which says you cannot collaborate with your participants until the very last day of that year's workshop. I have an additional one if I want to collaborate with anyone from my group. There needs to be at least 2 EAVE festivals in between, basically Berlin and Cannes. So if they want to co-produce with me, they have to approach me after Cannes, after their year. Because it's a bit of a difficult position if you're, as a group leader, it becomes quite competitive. And I have some colleagues, mainly male, let me tell you that, who are sometimes slightly irritated if I get a project and they don't. So in order to avoid that and make my life much easier and more comfortable, I'm old. I can't be bothered anymore. So it's like, yeah, okay. So I do collaborate, I would say, now and then. I'm in pre-production with a producer from my group from the year 2013. And yeah, that happens. I do collaborate with them now and then. But years later, potentially.
It was funny, I asked Roshi, Roshi, would you like to show any trailer? Because last year, she had a film at Berlinale Gala, right, by Germany, which I really liked. And then she said, it's too old. And we're not going to show it. So.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's like last year, and we're shooting this year. I could have shown you the sizzle reels, but it doesn't make sense. I'll show you next year if you do another women's conference or women's film. The funny thing is, and when you were all talking about topics, and we had the women's issues, the equality, gender equality thing on the panel, and I rethought while I was sitting there about what projects I'm developing. Yeah. Except one, all the other projects are being told from the perspective of a woman. And the one we are shooting now, it's practically an all-women's film. It's like there are 3 guys on the entire film.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. It is possible. It's doable. I'm not saying it's easy, because the one thing which we also did at home, we checked some of our local regional funds the past year, because we have an overview of how much they funded and what amount they funded. And what's really interesting is the amount a project gets that's being produced by a woman, written by a woman, or directed by a woman is much less than the men. So the high volume financing from certain funds literally go to men. And it's only, I think, 14% of the funding over 200,000 euros went to women and 86% to men.
Wow.
It's numbers. You can't debate numbers. It's a fact.
Yes, it's the data.
Quod erat demonstrant.
Ankica, so I will continue with this. You need to be in Cannes and Berlin. So after the Honan in Cannes, how popular you actually became in terms of, oh, I want to co-produce with you. Oh, I want.
Well, I can't tell. I mean, not because it's a secret, because I didn't notice. I mean, there is a change. There is a change. You can feel it. And that people, without me saying that, they know about it already. So that was sort of a good news for me. But my professional life didn't change, and but my personal life changed, because now I feel that I got something that I was always aiming for. So I feel like I fulfilled my dreams. So there is no pressure anymore. So this is what I like on this private level. But on a professional one, it is just to be forgotten very soon, you know. It's just 2015, now it's 2018, and it's gone. Yeah. So we only have it as a nice memory. But I would like to go back to this statistics thing, because I have a good news.
Okay. Yeah.
Because when we were trying to shape a campaign for the film Quit Staring at My Plate, which was a Croatian representative for Oscars, and then I was talking to my sales agent and to publicist, and we said, okay, we go with the woman thing, because the director is a woman, producer is a woman, DOP is a woman, lead actress is an actress. So we go for that. And then the list was revealed. And then out of 90 foreign language films, almost 30% were directed by women. So we said, no, we can't stick to this strategy, because 28% of the foreign films were directed by women, which is amazing. So if you check these statistics, something is moving. So not everything is that bad, but the numbers are really horrible in general. Yeah. It's not that I'm trying to diminish the problem. It is just an anecdote how our marketing strategy failed when we saw the results.
And I'm curious, maybe you remember a discussion in Warsaw some years ago. After the Honan, how often did training initiatives or conferences actually invited you as a success story, as a case study, you know, to elaborate? Besides me saying about the Honan, but has any training initiative actually invite you and say, okay, this is our success story, the Honan?
Yes, actually, it was this market connecting Cottbus, because our project was selected in a really baby stage there, and then it was REACT, which is collaboration between Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia. So it's sort of local. And yeah, not that much, actually. Not that much.
Because my point is the following. So whenever I go to the training initiative, so only really top success stories from big countries are represented. And my last experience was at Erich Pommer Institute. For the first time, there was a Serbian project to be shown as and elaborated and analyzed as case study. Other than that, it's really rare, and this is also another point that we are trying to make this level playing field. Also, when there are success stories from small countries, to really be also present at different training initiatives, because we also have different training participants at those training initiatives, and we all know that it's not the same.
Yeah, that's unjust. Same as the nationality of the tutors, teachers, professors, panelists, and yeah, very rarely you get to see someone from a small production capacity country or a small country. I mean, small in size. So we need to fight for that. And going to so many workshops all over Europe, mainly Europe, I realized that we keep learning about the French system, about the German system, even about UK system that we are not interested at all about, because they do not co-produce. and yeah, when it comes, of course we cannot have Lithuanian and Finn and Croatian perspective, but at least one of several, because they are all similar. Because small countries with a small audiovisual potential, they fight the same problem We share the same problem. It doesn't mean if the budget in Finland is 3 million euros, in Croatia is 1, the problems are the same. We have very few financiers, we have national TVs that are not interested enough, that are disobeying the law. We have similar problems, a huge competition, small group of professionals. So we speak the same language. So yeah, yes, I get annoyed by having all the time German and French examples, but I do protest on spot. And sometimes things change. We really need to protest about that.
We have an intervention. Mike?
I'm quite loud. So. Just to support this statement, I would like to add that also small countries and countries that have a lower production capacity very often become quite inventive in how they're going to make good projects that are going to travel. And there is a lot to be learned from that. Not just the React that was mentioned, but many, many other things. So I think we would benefit from that as well. Because I know that when I went to my first training initiatives, and then there were these big distributors from one of the big 5, and they talked about things that I cannot access ever, but it wasn't just me. I was the first one to say that, as usual, because I'm loud. But then suddenly my colleague, who is a documentarist from Great Britain, said, yeah, me neither. And then the guy from Sweden said, yeah, I have issues with that too, because I'm doing a specific type of film, etc., etc. So we have a lot to offer. That is also why I think people from smaller countries should be present at those things.
It's always learning from each other and making those differences possible as well. And what about you, Mo?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this because obviously I'm here with an animation hat on. And I think...
How many did you have knocks on the door?
Well, I did used to work originally actually in radio. And then I worked in live action and documentary. And I grew into the animation industry. So I can kind of see a few angles on this. But it is a kind of inherent quality in animation that you have to collaborate because it's so expensive anyway to make. It's so long a process. It involves an enormous amount of varied skill sets. So from the very beginning, really, in my experience, you have to try to find the correct partners, the most suitable partners, and I mean that with respect to the creative process as much as the co-financing process. So in my background, I've co-produced with various countries across Europe, and probably and hopefully more to come in a wider reach. I mentioned earlier to my Icelandic colleague there that we co-produced with Iceland a long time ago, actually just before the financial crisis there, or during it, which was another challenge. I think we'll always have these challenges in the audiovisual sector, and we have to lobby. It is a political thing. We have to be strong in our own associations and our own countries and raise the awareness with our broadcasters in a positive way. I do think it's about dialogue and negotiation. It takes a long time to bring it about, but it has to be done in a constructive way. It's something that actually needs to be put into law. You know, you need to have commitments within law from your governments to try to safeguard certain ring-fenced amounts of money in order to go into certain projects. And I'm saying that, I know it's not easy, and we have a lot of work to do still in Ireland with respect to our broadcasting sector. But, you know, that's really where it starts, and it's got to be something where you find common ground and common goals with your broadcaster. You've got to make them see how it can enhance their sector as well, and their image, if you like, and their presence in the country and wider if it's something you're going to sell abroad. There has to be an incentive somehow. And of course the broadcasting sector is also under a lot of pressure and a lot of threat in these times. So it's a very challenging on both sides. But I do think that collaboration is a key. I think that while we need to look after our cultural identities, this is very important in Europe. and it's a unique part of Europe. That we also need to not frustrate through bureaucracy how we meet criteria in order to achieve that goal. Because what can happen is that we diminish the return somehow, or we frustrate the making of something that could be a universal international project by making it forced into some sort of thing that we're trying to protect. And we need to get that balance right.
I totally agree. I mean, you open now Pandora's box in broadcasting and TV programming scheme at media, because it's so really difficult to access this money. And here in Croatia, it's also so difficult to co-produce and collaborate with the Croatian radio television, and not having your national support. It's so difficult within the TV programming, especially to manage some other TV supports as well in terms of the LEs or commitments. So yes, so we are opening Pandora's box.
What we call a can of worms.
I'm sorry?
We say opening a can of worms, or Pandora's box.
Yeah, and just to stay with you, Mo, did I misread it somewhere? But you also have some incentive for women in animation, or by Irish Film Board, or was I?
Incentive is probably a little strong, but what's happening there is that the Irish Film Board, and Francine mentioned earlier this morning about the Broadcasting Authority in Ireland, is also taking on aspects of Francine's work, is that there is a very active sense now, not just an awareness, but an active sense in the industries to work actively on equality, diversity, as well as a broader issue, which includes gender equality, but to really work on initiatives and to really try to create a gender balance and have more projects coming from women as well. So they are working on those incentives. They're not
implemented yet.
Concrete yet, but they're coming, and they're coming very soon, I believe. So I think there is a lot happening there. In my own sector, we are waiting on hard data to really back up anything I want to say now. So I feel slightly at odds about saying it, but we do know from our own anecdotal collection of information in our own sector that animation tends to reflect a better picture. Traditionally not so, but in the last 10 years that landscape has changed a lot. There are quite a lot of young women involved in that creative industry. It's a combination now more and more which is about creative, artistic and technology. So it's embracing a lot of areas that young people are generally interested in. So it's attracting a lot more women into it. We still have a divide on certain aspects, of course. But, you know, I would like this to be about equality that allows for preference. And we need to understand the difference between those two things. A statistic will not show always the truth of what's going on. We certainly need to work very hard on gender equality and let people decide their own preference of what they want to specialise in. I was reminded this morning of a conversation I had. Well, it wasn't much of a conversation actually. It was kind of one way at some point. But I sat on a bus attending Cartoon Forum, I think, maybe 3 years ago, or maybe it was Cartoon Movie, I'm not exactly sure. I think it was Movie actually, because it was International Women's Day, which has just passed, right, in March. So it must have been Cartoon Movie, and I ended up sitting on the shuttle bus, which was bringing us to the conference centre, beside a young man from Austria, and I said to some of my women friends that I saw coming on the bus, I wish them happy International Women's Day, and then I extended the message to everybody around me, And most people got involved in that in a good way. But he quite shocked me because he had a very bad reaction to it. And he really challenged me on it. And he said, what the hell is wrong with you all? You know, do you really have to have your own special day? Have we not gone beyond this? Have you not got everything that you said you needed? Do you not have a career? Do you not, you know? So I got a bit of a shock and a backlash from him. And I was most upset, actually, I think, because he was so young. I think that really bothered me. And I thought, gosh, you know, we've got much more to do than I thought we had. Because, of course, it's relative in every country, but it's a global issue on so many levels. And our industries are just a part of something that we've all got a responsibility to work on. It's just a challenge for us to recognize that an equal, diverse society is a better society. And it's actually as simple as that. It's not about who's better and who's worse.
No, it's about visibility of all. And Zrinka, so you also participate in the Croatian Directors Association. How is it? Female, male-dominated when it comes to the board members or so? Just an approximate.
Well, I think that till now the male is the dominant figure, yeah, in the society, but also there are, of course, the women in, not like a president of the guild, but in all these other boards. But I would like to say what Ankica told, that we really have this feeling that the things are proving, because in last 6 or 7 years in Croatia, there were 9 female directors with their first film. So it's very nice that we got the chance, but if we saw it from the other side, some of my colleagues have to wait like till they're 40 to get the first film. So that's really was not fair. And I would like to announce that the Croatian Directors Guild we are preparing the conference. It will take place in Zagreb for 2 or 3 days. And the theme will be the position of women in the European cinematography. So I hope that we will see.
Hopefully you will invite everyone.
Yes.
And have a cake, yeah. Good luck with it.
Will you help us?
No, I'm on vacation next week.
It should be at the end of the year, so you know you have.
End of the year.
Yeah.
I thought next week. Sorry. Do we have questions? Okay. Thank you all. Huh? Shall we again screen? Maybe your pre-trailer of second Noah. Oops, Noah is gone.
Oh, just to say, yeah, we are making a sequel. Yeah. We are just about to start production, in fact, and that's going well. We have to do the last gap, the last hurdle, as always is the case. And we are also developing a TV series now from this world. So hopefully it will continue.
Croatia as well, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What about you, Roshi? Some future plans? We know you like South Africa all of a sudden. You're moving out of Europe. You have enough of us.
I always went beyond Europe now. Beyond Europe now and then. No, actually, I'm doing a couple of children's films, and I'm really looking forward to that with lots of women on board. And it's a story of a young girl who's more interested in astronomy than in other human beings, which I think is really fun, and it should encourage young girls to have a heart for the usual male-dominated areas of our world, which is like technology, astronomy, science, etc., etc. That's close to my heart, as you know.
Ankica? Comic Sans is another
media-supported
project
now, yes.
from the second slate.
Yeah. It was in a second
so
slate.
It's going well. And any new projects to announce or?
Yes, but it's a top secret.
Ah, okay.
I'll have to kill you if I tell.
What stays here, will not stay here. Okay, so thank you all.
Thank you.
They deserve also applause, right? Yeah.